He's already there. He's already trying to just takes it to.
We're gonna put that table.
Table where?
Oh, you don't?
Everything like a table here.
Shift everything to.
I can't fit in my table.
We can fit more chairs.
We can only fit chairs.
Okay. I know. No, we're gonna put it over here.
No, what?
Oh, you know what? Okay. So can we put it here? You put it.
I can either take it off.
Put that at the other door. You can put one here.
You're fine.
Okay.
Greetings, all who are in the chat. Please click on the link that will direct you to our YouTube, where you can watch the webinar via YouTube. So if you go into the chat, you're going to leave. It's actually going to leave Zoom. You're going to go onto YouTube using the event link, and you'll be able to see the event there. Before you do that, make sure that you sign in. We'll also have the QR code in the chat on YouTube. Thank you all for joining us. In the chat, there is a link that will direct you to our YouTube where you can watch the event live. The event will not be shared via Zoom. You will click on the link in the chat and it will direct you to our YouTube.
Your phone's different.
And that will direct you to YouTube, where you can watch
Yes, it works.
The remote is not coming on. It's not connecting for some reason. I was trying to find out we're on the wrong channel, but I can't figure it out.
Transition year. Transition. You just trying to figure it out. Did you? How did you do? Okay. So, but did you feel like you knew the answers? Did you know the answer? You had to guess, okay, but the rest of them you think based it. Okay, I like that. I like that. Yeah. I know, I know, I know. It's what she. She's like, oh. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So every chapter in the world, because we don't just have Alpha Kappa Alpha chapters in the US, we have it internationally. They are supposed to do programs that are dealing with building our economic wealth. If that is not enough, we have opened the first woman-owned credit union. I need to talk about. We have our FMO credit union where we are allowing women that look just like you, people that are part of our sorority, to go in, open an account, and be able to save and invest in a Black woman-owned business. So that is how serious that we are, that we kicked open the door, to something that has never been done before. And that is the tradition of an Alpha Kappa Alpha woman, is that we are trailblazers. And so we are so excited that you are here today to hear all about debt management and debt reduction and all of the things that this expert is going to bring to us today. It's spring cleaning, right? Everybody is cleaning out closets and all of that. What about cleaning out some debt? Like that is like one of the things that, will weigh heavy on you. And so we're going to hear about tools and things of that nature. So I hope that when you came in, you felt welcome. If you don't, hug yourself and welcome yourself to this workshop. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your attendance here, your presence. My name is Nicole Magnuson, as you can see on the screen, and I am a financial advisor with Point to Point Wealth Planning. I am based in Wilmington, Delaware, but
I'm sorry. Thank you for that.
Oh, no problem.
We were going to have the address by
I'm so
Ariana
sorry.
Thomas.
I'm
Thank you.
Sorry. No problem. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Hi. My name is Ariana Thomas. I'm a senior nursing major here at Widener University, and I'm also the president of the Tantalizing Tall Alpha chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. And I'm going to be leading everyone in our icebreaker tonight. So it's a financial literacy bingo. I'm going to have Ms. Courtney Smith come up and explain.
Okay, so a little chance to have some fun, get you focused on what we're going to be talking about this evening. So we're going to test a little bit of your knowledge, see if you're in that debt management mindset. So as you get your bingo code, this is an honor system, okay? We're trusting in you all to be honest about what you have done, what actions you have taken, okay? So Ariana is gonna call off a square. If you've done that square, you can mark it. If you need some pens, we have a couple up here. Okay, please. All right, you have some around. Okay. All right. If you haven't, what? Came out like anybody not get a card who needs one? I have one left. I might have one in my purse. I can check that.
I need my
I have 2 extra.
Oh, we have 2 extra pens. There we go.
Nobody needs it out.
And sometimes we use something.
like,
Okay, so as the squares are called, you're going again honors this time. We trust y'all. Be honest, okay? So if that is something you have done or currently doing for your debt management, okay, you're gonna mark that on your sheet, okay?
Yeah.
And you'll let them know which direction we're going.
Yes.
Do you care, or does it just matter? Just a line?
just a line.
Okay.
Horizontal, vertical, diagonal.
As long as it's 5, you have done 5, okay? In a row, whatever line. Got it? Any questions? Okay, you gotta call bingo, okay? You wanna be the first one to call bingo. We have a chance to win prizes, okay? We'll do 2 quick rounds. All right, go ahead.
All right. Mark your boards if you created a budget.
In the last 6 months.
And
Recently, yeah.
You can't be like 10 years ago, I did one of those before.
All right, mark your board if you check your credit score. Mark your board if you use cashback apps.
Does that count? It's gonna-
If your bank is set up on your debit card, they have a cashback option. And I have the app, so.
Right.
I'll take it. All right, mark your board if you have a holiday fund. Mark your board if you have a savings account. Mark your board if you have a 401k.
And just in case anybody was wondering, the money in the middle is your free space. It's your free space.
Love it.
Mark your board if you use coupons. Mark your board if you've read a financial literacy book.
Lately, reading it, not lately. Yeah.
Mark your board if you created a will.
Say it again.
A will, you created a will.
Anybody vote?
No.
A little bit, almost, okay.
Okay.
You don't vote?
Oh.
Mark your board if you have financial goals. Mark your board if you have a no spend day.
I tried. I know.
Oh, I did have to try. That count? I mean, you didn't spend, did you?
I did.
Okay.
We said debt. One just my day.
Mark your board if you have passive income.
Oh, wait.
Uses Cash App as a no spend day. I actually did that yesterday. Cash back. Well, I meant to say cash back.
That was not the question.
Cash back.
Cash back, yeah.
Financial goals, definitely.
Yes, you did.
Passive income
Yes.
and creating a will.
I know.
Happy birthday,
Picture.
All right, thanks for playing. There'll be another opportunity to win later, so hold on to your board. Don't throw that board out. All right, moving along.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. I was trying, but I can't do that no spend day. I cannot do it. I tried. So, let me introduce our speaker. Her name is Nicole Magnuson, and she is a financial advisor based in Wilmington, Delaware, serving clients across various states across the country. She works with point-to-point wealth planning under the umbrella of Ameriprise Financial. Nicole is passionate about financial literacy and is a proud member of Ameriprise's Black Empowerment Advisor Community Network, Beacon Financial Literacy Committee. She helps busy professionals get on track and stay on track with their financial goals in this ever-changing society and the environment. I think we can all agree that today's economy that we need financial health and debt management are necessary tools for all of us. Growing wealth and crushing debt should be all of our goals. Fun facts about Nicole are that she loves audiobooks. Currently, she's enjoying romantasy genre, which is fitting since she's getting married in October. So without further ado, help me to welcome Nicole Magnuson.
Thank you so much. And, with the presentation today, we're going to be covering a lot. So I do have my information up here. I have some handouts just for some reminders of what we'll talk about. But debt is such a big topic that we're going to talk about ways to manage budgets around debt. And we're going to talk about the debt itself. And if we have time, I'll also talk about how insurance can help with debt as well, now and in the future. So if you have questions along the way, there will be a Q&A at the end. So feel free to write some questions down. And if you're too nervous to ask a question in an audience, or if it's a personal question with your personal financial information, please don't share that here and just contact me and we can chat on the phone, email, virtual, however you'd like, okay? So the first thing I wanna ask is, first, what does wealth mean to you? Because debt and wealth are kind of hand in hand. You can have debt and grow wealth, but real wealth is really built when your debt starts to reduce or you're using that debt to leverage your wealth. So some of the definitions here are an abundance of possessions or money. That's the first thing that people usually think about is, oh, wealthy means, Jeff Bezos, you got a yacht, you have lots of jewelry, you have lots of things. Another one is the state of being rich or material prosperity, something similar, like having a lot of cars or houses. Another one is a plentiful supply of a particular resource or desirable thing. That's more of a broad term. So when you think about wealth, keep that in mind when we're going through this presentation and how do you define wealth and how do you want to build wealth for yourself? Wealth to some people is just having a happy, healthy family and a place to rest your head at night. So it can mean a lot to different people. So make sure you know what your definition of wealth is. So today we'll be talking about financial goals, and this presentation is part of a larger one, so I kind of pared it down. So some of these slides have a little bit more information on them. So when we start a new habit, like tackling debt or budgeting, we have to identify our why. There has to be a why behind that or it won't work. So why are we taking the steps? What are we working towards? Again, it goes back to that definition of wealth and how you'd like to become a wealthy woman. The same goes for finances. To be successful, you have to set specific goals. Those have to be attainable. You can't say, oh, I want 3 yachts, because realistically, that's not as attainable for most people, but it could be, I want to buy a house and then I want to have a rental property, or I want to buy a house and start a family and grow. So the key to becoming successful is gaining control of your finances. So what types of goals should you be setting? Now, we'll be talking about the first 3 here. So savings, investing, and debt reduction. We'll focus on that debt reduction, but the debt reduction ties into budgeting. So these are examples of the categories that all of your financial goals can fall into. So some examples of the goals for savings is an emergency fund. How many of you here have an emergency fund? Or sometimes it's called an emergency reserve. I see one in the back, that's great, so some couple in the crowd. Typically, we'll get into that a little bit more, but that's like 3 to 6 months of your fixed expenses. So if you couldn't work and earn money, could you survive for 3 to 6 months? That's what that emergency fund is for. It's not for, it's an emergency fund, but also I wanted to take a cruise, so I'm gonna. So that's one example of a savings goal. An investing goal could be wealth creation, dollar cost averaging into a retirement plan. Stocks, bonds, and mutual funds we talked about, passive income in the bingo. Some examples of debt reduction would be getting a credit card debt paid off, getting a mortgage paid down, things like that. So a lot of these, especially with the debt, is a top priority because if it has interest, if it's interest-bearing debt, that can eat away at the money that you have. So if you have a credit card with a 25% interest rate, your payment, if it's $100, 75 of that goes to the debt, but 25 of that goes to the credit card company. So those are things you need to keep in mind when you have debt, especially if it grows to a larger amount. So some ways to get towards that savings goal is to set a small value regularly to save. So if your goal is $10,000, realistically, you're probably not going to be able to save $5,000 a month and have it done in 2 months. It might be $50 a week, $50 a paycheck, $100 a month. Some start small because that's attainable. And once you get comfortable with that, it will become much easier. You can utilize bank savings options. So we talked about the bank accounts that have cash back offers. There's also high yield savings accounts. Those are fantastic to use right now. They have the types of goals. We have short term, we have midterm, and we have long term. And the debt can fall into this as well. So with goals, short term is typically within a year. If it's a smaller debt like a credit card, that's typically a shorter term goal, and it's usually higher interest. So you'll want to categorize it that way. For medium term, that's 1 to 10 years. That may be a car note. Those are usually 5 to 6 years. I think they have 7-year notes now. So that might be something you want to put in that midterm goal. And long term, of course, the biggest long term debt is going to be a mortgage or something large like that. So you have to set term limits on your goals and your debts so that you know how to attack them. So some goals, some termed goals, and the different places you can look for these is in the short term, you'll have emergency fund, like we talked about, that 3 to 6 months. Sometimes if you are at retirement or after retirement, you want a larger emergency fund because you don't have an income coming in typically from a job. So you'll want to extend that. So it can be 3 to 12 months for some people. Debt payments are going to be short term for those credit cards. We're going to have small home improvements. Those are usually short term. And then travel. That's a goal for most of us, I'm sure. So travel is a budget line item for most of my clients. And it's a budget line item for me too, because I love to travel. So you have to budget that in so that you don't have a trip that comes up and you have to put it on a credit card. You have to get a loan for it. The medium term here, you'll see that the debt payments are there because some of those debts can be longer term. You have car payments, paying off longer debts, and creating that emergency fund can be a medium-term goal because it might not take a year to create a large emergency fund. I'm still building my emergency fund because when a car repair came up, that's where you pull from that emergency fund. So now I need to replenish that. And then we have the long-term goals. And those are retirement funds, paying off the mortgage, launching a business, maybe reinvesting into the business and expanding a business, and college tuition for a child. So short-term goals can usually involve vehicles. We like to call accounts vehicles. So vehicles like money markets, high yield savings accounts, CDs, cash in bank accounts, etc. They can be conservative in nature. So when you talk about short-term goals and short-term things, it's going to be conservative, meaning you're not going to have your emergency fund that you might in a stock. Because what has happened to the stocks recently? It's not good. So you don't want money that you will need in a short term in something that's going to be bouncing around the market. So it's going to be conservative. And then medium-term goals would be in things like stocks, bonds, ETFs, 529s, which are education accounts. You might have some brokerage accounts like TD Ameritrade, Vanguard, Ameriprise has brokerage accounts, or managed accounts that are a little bit more complex. And these can go from moderately conservative, so a little more into the market, all the way up to moderately aggressive if you're comfortable with that and the goals align. And then the long-term goals, that's way out there. Like I have 30 years till retirement just about, unless I can retire early. I can put myself in very aggressive holding. So I can get into very aggressive stock positions because long term it's going to pay off. But if I was retiring, next month, I wouldn't be in stocks. So that's something to consider. too, is where you're invested and where your money is for your goals. So this is a fact that I like to share because it puts everything into perspective. And this presentation, also for your information, was built with the Beacon Network through Ameriprise and Franklin Templeton. And it was a group of Black advisors that said, we don't have enough resources and presentations and curriculum for our communities. All the presentations that we have are generally old white people riding bikes along the beach, you know, and it's talking about statistics that are for America, but not for the Black community. And those statistics are very different. So we wanted to pull those out. So here it says 1 out of 3 Black adults say they have a 3-month emergency fund. They can't deal with emergencies that may take up 3 months of their money. So if you don't have one currently, you can get here. It's not as difficult as it may seem. You can create small or big emergency savings for yourself. And especially if you have things that have equity, like a home, that can be a source of emergency funds as well. It can be a source of a secondary emergency fund. And I'll get into that a little bit. But it really gives you peace of mind when you have an emergency fund, because it gives you that peace that if something goes wrong, I don't have to put it on a credit card. I don't have to get a loan. I don't have to worry, because I saved and I put the work in to have that extra money. So it takes time and dedication, but it's definitely worth it. So let's see how you can do this. So to get started, there's some ground rules. You are looking to have it covered, like I said, 3 to 6 months. It's not an income replacement. It should be only access for emergencies, as the name states. So it's, like I said, it's not for a cruise that you wanted to take, or, you know, Christmas. Some people use it for Christmas. That's a separate fund, like you had on the bingo. If you want that, put that in a holiday fund. That's not an emergency fund. But it could be that you got laid off. A lot of folks have been experiencing layoffs recently with all of the volatility going on in the federal government and in local governments. So if you get laid off, you want to be able to say, oh, I'm fine. I have time to look for a job. I don't need to get the first job that comes through my door because I don't have money to cover. It gives you flexibility. So getting started is simple. Like I said, you can start today. You can put $5 in a jar somewhere. If you don't, you know, have access to an easy bank account, just start small. It's a good start to start small. So how much should you be saving? That's a good question. It depends. But how many of you do have a budget right now? I didn't know how many did the bingo budget, but a couple, few, good number. Number about 25%. That's good. Yeah. I like to call a budget a spending plan, because budget seems restrictive. Spending plan seems more open and welcoming. But sometimes people budget on paper. Sometimes people have a spreadsheet. Sometimes people use an app. It depends on your preference, but a little bit of budgeting and tracking can really help your wallet grow. So this is a quick example of a guideline for a budget. And you probably won't fall in here right away, but you can start to build your debt management and money management around this. So you'll see here that it's a 50-30-20, so 50%, 30%, and 20%. And it's broken up between living expenses, discretionary spending, which is fun lifestyle spending, and savings. That savings portion is also a debt payment portion. So it can kind of vary depending on your situation. If you have a large debt that is eating away with a big interest rate like a credit card, you might want to lower your discretionary spending, your fun spending, and increase that other portion to pay off that debt quicker. Because it's okay to delay fun things for paying off things now, so it doesn't build. But living expenses are things that you absolutely need. So housing, transportation, food, insurance, that goes into that 50%. That's usually the bulk of people's budget. And it's getting more and more expensive every day. If you've gone grocery shopping recently, you know. Discretionary spending is what you put towards hobbies, the fun stuff, charitable donations, travel. It's important to have some discretionary spending, because if you don't, you'll feel like you're living in a prison, because you'll just be paying to live and paying and saving and paying off debts, and that's it. There's no room for fun. So you have to budget fun. And then savings is whatever you're working towards in terms of savings. So it might be debt reduction, if that's a big issue for you. It might be, paying into a retirement plan. That's always fantastic. But it definitely helps to delay or decrease the lifestyle spending now for a lavish lifestyle later when you have less debt. So getting ready for the 50-30-20 method, step one is just reviewing what you spend. If you don't know what you spend, you don't know how much you can save. You don't know what the wiggle room is. So definitely review your spending, because that will help you with the debt too. Because if you're spending, I know when I first did a budget, I was shocked at how much I was door dashing. That was a big portion of my budget. And I admit that. And Amazon was too. And I had to